folks, welcome back. It's John Pettipas. We tip my hat to all the foresters, the people that cut the wood, haul the wood, make the paper, and ship it out by train, and the fellows that run the trains and the trucks. We tip my helmet to all of you. Now, it's 12 minutes past 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday night, which is the 23rd day of July, and bear with me, I'm covering a span now of almost 60 years, so it's hard to do it in 7 or 8 minutes. Bear with me, and this video is intended for everybody has ever benefited in any way from the economy we enjoy in Cape Breton and eastern Nova Scotia. And all the workers, and the wood harvesters, and the people on woodland, and there's a whole supply chain, and you can make a graph pie. And the name of the video is, it's aimed at Port Hawkesbury Paper Inc. They call it the mill. Okay, it's the Cove Paper Mill now. Why you have a job. And everybody, listen up. Why you have a job. Something like the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. Listen up. There's primarily 4 men and an outstanding lady. 2 outstanding ladies, actually. There's a Leonard O'Neill. He's right at the top of my list. A Leonard O'Neill, a former mayor of Mulgrave of the famous O'Neill family that came from Grosvenor and Matty settlement back of Linwood and moved to Mulgrave. And they were liberals. And the father was a teacher, come out of a couple of teachers, Anthony O'Neill, a teacher, Eugene O'Neill was mayor, Leonard was mayor, there was Ignatius was a teacher, and Anthony was a principal, I believe. So there's sisters. Emily Cahoon of Auld, Cove would be the sister of those O'Neill family. And there was after the Cancer Causeway came, the famous Cancer Causeway, there was a great disruption in the economy of Mulgrave. They had the train ferry and the car ferry, Scotia ferry, being a train ferry, and a car ferry. And with the causeway, it disrupted the economy tremendously. And they had the 7 counties, towns and counties get together. And the guy that was working so hard on it was the Leonard O'Neill. Leonard O'Neill from Mulgrave, and he had a small Ford dealership. Nothing like you see now, but it's a small, they probably had a panel van, 2 or 3 half-ton trucks, maybe a sedan for a doctor in town or somebody who was doing well, a sea captain or somebody. And it was O'Neill Motors. And he worked so hard that he basically jeopardized his business and hurt his own affairs by working so hard on it. And he served a greater good, Leonard O'Neill. And there at Sheet Harbour on the eastern shore of Nova Scotia, Scott Paper had a mill. It's called a ground wood. They made ground wood, and that pulp went into vats or big canvas bags or something. Somehow it was transported down to Philadelphia, and it made the Scott paper towels. And they take Kleenex and toilet tissue. And there was talk of making an outright paper mill in Sheet Harbour. Talk of make one in Truro to make the famous Stanfield's underwear. And then there was talk of other. So anyway, Leonard O'Neill set his heart and mind on one in the Strait area. And the big thing that clincher was water. I spoke to a gentleman this afternoon responsible for Goose Harbour Lake and the pressure tank, brake pressure tank up in Mulgrave on Tower Road. And there's 3 lakes. There's the Summers Lake, the Frenchman's Lake, and Grant's Lake. In all those lakes, starting at Monastery, and you come down Trans-Canada Highway, maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles from there, you hit these lakes back along the old Mulgrave Road, goes back through Frankville and back of Auld Cove, and in the Mulgrave. And so these 3 lakes, that's where the water comes from. That's where the water comes from. It was a sulfite pulp mill. So he worked so hard to clinch that deal, he endangered his own business. We owe a debt of gratitude. In fact, Anna Guinness casket, to their credit, when Leonard O'Neill died, said the whole region, Victoria, Inverness, Cape Breton County, Richmond County, Guys, Veronica Nish, Pictou County, and points beyond, owed a debt of gratitude to probably the finest thing ever in the casket. We all owed a debt of gratitude to this gentleman. And his wife was Eva. Eva's made like Eva. Eva was from Mahoney's Beach. She was a Mahoney, was her maiden name, outside of Antigonish, rural Antigonish County. And she said, boy, Leonard was a quiet, diminutive man, but very determined. And said when he got his teeth on something, an idea, he grabbed on it like a junkyard dog. He grabbed on that idea like that was her own quote in our kitchen at Murray Street, Mulgrave. She told me, Leonard would grab on that idea like a junkyard dog. And we owe it to my cameraman, my Sam, my producer. He used to bring her Christmas tree in and set it up every year for her after she was a widow. And just a wonderful, wonderful lady. The second couple would be Lars Anderson. I did a video back in the spring, and it's still at 233 views. Everybody, not because of my video, but because of what they meant. It was a tribute to the late Dagmar and Lars Anderson. And they came here from Sweden, and they arrived in Hawkesbury. He was the chief financial officer. Nobody ever held a position again that had influence he did. And they were going to shut that mill. Can you just bear with me one brief second, folks, please? Just bear with me a second. I'll be right back. I'm getting my prompt. Here it is. It's a $20 bill. It's a $20 bill here. See this $20 bill? And at one point, there was sulfite mill. They called it the mill. No, it was Nova Scotia Pulp. And they were losing money. And I remember the guy saying, late Jerry McFarlane said, the supervisor said, it's like taking a $20 bill out of your wallet, pocket, money clip, and putting in every bale of sulfite pulp we were shipping out of here. And he took and told the higher-ups, the people at Stora Kopparberg in Sweden, he told them, stick with it. The market will get better. And they listened to him. They listened to the young, smart accountants. Great diligent attention to detail. Stick with it. The market will get better. And they said the rest is history. Then we got into budworm, and the market was changing. The sulfite mill shut, and the paper market started changing through the internet, those computer machines. And it was a saintly... So Dagmar and Lars Anderson, we owe a debt of gratitude to them. They came from Sweden and lived their whole life in Erie. They dearly loved Cape Breton and the people of Nova Scotia. The saintly Jack Hartery is the third one on my list. He seconded when the mill was in danger, and in 95, after 1995, it's hard to believe now, it's 27 years already, 26 going on 27 years, he seconded them in the mill house, as they called it, in the manicured forest at Craigmore, Newtown, Troy. He seconded them there for something like 2 or 3 weeks. And they worked on a business plan. And Jack Hartery went to the board of directors at Stora Kopparberg in Sweden, and he presented a plan. And after he presented his plan, he spoke to each one, Lars and every other one that was in that board. He thanked each director, and he left the room, and they made a decision. And they invested $600 million to make a super calendar machine, which if you look at my video last night on paper and on the trains, I love trains. I love trains. One of my great passions. Anyway, wasn't for the paper mill, I seriously doubt we'd have train service here anymore. So the saintly Jack Hartery sold him on the idea of making a super calendar machine. People had opportunity to work. At one point, there was 1,000 electricians on site working there between 96, 97, 98, and 2.25 years' time that new machine was built. And had he not done that, we'd be in a vastly different situation in this area now. Is everything perfect, hunky-dory? Not totally, but man, oh man. If we didn't have what is now Hawkesbury Paper Inc. here, we would be in tough circumstances. There wouldn't be as many $20,000 4x4s in people's yards, or sea-doos, or ski-doos, or boats, or motorhomes, or campers, whatever. And we're proud of people doing well, but if we didn't have the anchor of the mill, we'd be in tough shape. So he sold them on the idea. It went over budget, and now it cost $675 million, and the paper market changed profoundly. And they basically, the new chairman, president of Store decided, after many years of being here, were going to leave the area. It was a sad day. In the late about 2009, 2010, the place was bought by, actually before that, I think it was 2007. The place was bought by Cerberus Capital, kind of a unique name. Company name was New Page, and that didn't work out, and it shut at one point. And there's the fourth gentleman, the four saintly men. Ron Stern, he came and looking at it. I had guys in the store that came, I believe, from New York or Toronto. They were scrap metal dealers, and looked at tearing apart the super calendar machine. There's 5,000 pumps and motors in that machine, looking at tearing it apart for scrap. There was somebody else with roots in this area. He was working at a different mill, a craft mill in Pictou, and he said, we looked at it, the head office, Malaysia, Indonesia, Asia Pulp Paper, but that coated market, paper market is a tough market. And Ron Stern stuck to it. Yes, he got a good deal on it, but he stuck to it. Nobody else would buy it. Nobody else would buy it. He bought it. And then in comes, under Hussein Obama, a big tariff, a 20% tariff. And it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes to Mr. Ron Stern and Wayne Nordstrom that those two gentlemen and their business partners could keep 20% of every bill laid went out of there, went in a trust account. And under President Trump, I hear President Trump, they eliminated that tariff. And they got their money back after long, but they went through some tough years. And so again, we have 4 men and 2 ladies. Leonard O'Neill and his wonderful wife, Eva, that was supportive through everything to get the prove to his water here that Nova Scotia pulp should come. Lars Anderson and Dagmara, the saintly Jack Hartery, and his lovely wife, wonderful wife, Shirley, capable cat, able dealer in her own right. Ron Stern and his wonderful wife, Jane, and I'm not certain what Wayne's wife's name is, but very supportive. So this is why we have a mill. This is why many of you wonderful folks, I congratulate a fine young man that went over, and he's responsible now. One of his duties is shipping the paper out, and I'm very proud. And they're very good people. The mill employees no longer McDonald's from Judic or Marchands or Lewis Tailors. They hire people from Frankville or from Cape Jack or from St. Peter's or Guysborough. And this is a wonderful company, PPI, Port Hawkesbury Paper, Inc. They're very good people, and we applaud them. Very proud of them. So we have Ron Stern, prior to Ron Stern, the saintly Jack Hartery, prior to St. Shirley is a very supportive, wonderful, lovely, supportive wife. Prior to that, Lars Anderson telling them, stick with it. Stick with the sulfite pulp mill. In between all of this, they add to divide the overhead of the mill over a bigger thing. They added a newsprint machine. That's where it became what was Nova Scotia Pulp, became NSFI, Nova Scotia Forest Industries. Of course, we had the budworm, and then the paper started to be made in other parts of the world. And then, of course, we had the internet, the computer machine, and that changed the piss in the pot, water in the beans. So we have coated paper, and I'm so proud to see those boxcars go to empty and come back full with the wonderful product, the beautiful SC Super Calendar, all you fine employees, all the men and women of Port Hawkesbury Paper Inc. And I salute Mr. Ron Stern and Wayne Nordstrom and other folks are in with Pacific Capital Partners that had the guts and vision and fortitude, and employees that stuck with the mill or came back or been hired since. You're a great crew, and we think the world of you. And just when you say a prayer tonight, say your nightly prayers or morning prayers, think of Leonard O'Neill. Think of the sacrifices he made to get to the point that we could prove there's water here in the mill is in the area. Lars and the saintly late Dagmar and Lars Anderson. Saintly Jack Hartery and his wonderful wife, who's very much alive. And, of course, our wonderful, benevolent Ron Stern, and the guy that's in business with him, and the key partner of business would be Wayne Nurstrom. And so we're proud of all you guys. With that, I got to wrap it up. You share this video far and wide. I've gone on longer than I normally do. I'm almost at the almost 15 minutes mark. And that's spread it around. Press the subscribe button. As of night, I'm 165 subscribers away from the 1,000 magic 1,000 mark on my John Pettipas YouTube channel. Share this video. Show it to your wives and kids and in-laws and outlaws and grandkids, retirees, that why you have a job here. And with that, I got to go. This is John Pettipas. Thank any viewers for watching. You make it all possible, and you equally wonderful subscribers. Press the subscribe button, share around. All the best. God bless. Good night now.